Good afternoon to my wonderful Israel Brief community all around the world, and to the newcomers. If you're joining us for the first time, I am Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where our incredible community gathers every Monday to Thursday, usually with a cup of tea or coffee, and we take a look at the top stories making headlines in Israel. The top stories that you're not going to hear in your mainstream media, but for all things Israel, you're welcome to come right here. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And every week we send out a newsletter. It is absolutely free. And if you would like to be on the mailing list, please contact us via our website. Those details coming up a little later in the show. Now this whole week my teeth have been falling out. It is Thursday, which means I mentioned the mensch and the moron of the week. And this week there's something very special. I also take your audience questions. So if you have a question for me that you would like answered about Israel, Jews, or hey, anything in general. Listen, once I even got asked about my sleep practice. So it's all out there. I'm not afraid of the odd question. I will do my best to answer them. A reminder to everybody that today is day 580. Yesterday we marked 19 months to the day since the horrific attacks of the 7th of October, which saw over 1,200 people brutally slaughtered, mass rape and mutilation, and over 250 people taken hostage, amongst them foreign nationals, of which 59 remain captive in Gaza. We want them home now. You can't see my shirt, but written on it in Hebrew is Machzirim etchem habayta achshav. Bring them home now. And with that, let's take a look at our top story, and it is relevant to the hostage situation. President Trump 2 nights ago mentioned that only 21 out of the 24 hostages are still alive. Now, Israeli officials have confirmed that we are very, very worried about the fate of 3 hostages. We have received signs of life for 21, but not for 3. 1 Israeli and 2 foreign nationals. We have not received signs of life for them. We have 1 Thai hostage and 1 Nepalese hostage who are still or whose fates we are still very, very concerned about, in addition to an Israeli hostage. Now, the families have been updated, and it is a situation we're monitoring very, very closely. Meanwhile, Arab countries are applying pressure to Hamas to accept a ceasefire deal. Israel has issued the ultimatum to Hamas that if they do not accept a ceasefire deal, if they do not accept a deal to release the remaining hostages by the end of President Trump's visit to the Middle East next week, Israel will expand its offensive in Gaza and possibly move to occupy parts of the Gaza Strip. Israel's defense forces have established a mobile field triage facility in the village of Hadar in southern Syria, very, very close to the border with Israel. Now, over the last couple of months, ties between Israel and the Syrian Druze community have grown especially tight. The new regime in Syria, and it absolutely befuddles me that French President Macron has welcomed with full ceremony the new president of Syria, al-Shara, who says he is a reformed former Al-Qaeda operative. The Syrian Druze, Kurds, Christian communities have been persecuted by the new regime. Israel has sent humanitarian aid to the Christian and to the Syrian Druze community, and now we have this mobile triage facility. The aim of this facility is to support the Syrian Druze community and ensure their security. Meanwhile, IDF forces continue to monitor developments in Syria and maintain readiness for Defense. Israel's National Security Council have warned Israelis traveling to Basel in Switzerland for the upcoming Eurovision Song Contest to please be vigilant for potential threats by terror extremists. Israelis and Jews are prime targets for these terror-supporting entities, and the NSC has called on Israelis and members of the Jewish communities to be vigilant, to download the Homefront Command app, and also not to post plans on social media and wear signs that make them visibly Jewish or Israeli. I mean, it's absolutely appalling that in 2025 the world has come to this. And I am rooting for our incredible Yuval Raphael, not just because she is phenomenally talented and the song is incredible, not just because she is a survivor of the Nova Festival, not just because she is a wonderful Israeli Jewish woman, but also because Basel is the city where the first Zionist Congress took place, and I think it would be immense satisfaction to see that come full circle. Meanwhile, the Eurovision Committee has refused a letter from over 70 former Eurovision contestants calling for Israel's expulsion from the competition. I just think they're jealous that Yuval will outsing, outperform, and outclass every single one of them. And finally, today is a very, very, very special day, and I really want young people to take note, to pay attention. Today, the 8th of May, marks 80 years since VE, that's Victory in Europe Day, the day when His Majesty King George officially declared the end of the Second World War in Europe. And we can't forget those iconic images of people celebrating in the street, the British royal family on the balcony, joined by Prime Minister Winston Churchill, the wartime Prime Minister, and the streets just filled with people relieved that after 6 long years of war and massive loss, that it had eventually come to an end in Europe. It would later come to an end in Asia, in Japan. Earlier today, Israel's President Herzog paid tribute to all those who fought to liberate the camps and all those who served in the Allied armed forces during that time. He specifically mentioned his father, who would go on to become one of Israel's first presidents, Chaim Herzog, who served in the British armed forces and was one of those who moved to liberate the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. President Herzog thanked the Red Army, the British Army and Allied forces for their role in liberating the Nazi death and concentration camps and defeating for once and for all the dark forces of Nazism and their supporters. The president also reminded everybody that we need to do everything in our power to fight anti-Semitism, and that today is day 580 and that there are still 59 hostages that remain captive in the Gaza Strip, and the world must move to make sure that they are released. And I just want to take a moment to salute all of those who gave their tomorrows for our todays, for our freedom that so many have forgotten and taken for granted, and that so many in the younger generations do not respect. I want to pay tribute to the magnificent veterans, and with the passage of time we lose more and more every day. And I also want to pay tribute to those who did not come back. We owe you a debt of gratitude and a depth of gratitude that we can never, ever repay. I also want to take this opportunity to mention my 2 late grandfathers, Grandpa Aaron and Grandpa Ian, who fought up north in the South African Defence Forces as part of His Majesty's Commonwealth Armies. I remember my one grandfather, Grandpa Ian, who I used to call Gramps, as a child, speaking about going up north. I didn't know what up north meant until I was a little older, and we are also familiar about the fate of many of our families who remained in Europe. But I want to take a minute to acknowledge my grandfathers who fought so valiantly, and my grandmothers as well, my uncle, my mother, who became moths and mothwas of the Memorial Order of the Tin Hats, working with war veterans, cause close to my heart, and I salute them from this generation to those. And finally, let's take a look at the audience question, and it comes from Maxine in Johannesburg, who says, in a war between India and Pakistan, who would Israel support? Well, that's easy. India is one of our closest allies. We do not have formal ties with Pakistan, and so our support would be with India. And finally, very special, a first. I don't have any morons of the week, but I have some really extraordinary mentions. So let me get on to those. And the first is His Majesty King Charles, for his wonderful letter that he wrote to President Herzog for Yom HaAtzmaut, congratulating Israel on 77 years of independence, but also acknowledging the suffering of the hostages and their families and the suffering of Israeli people during this war, and speaking about how he prays for the return of all the hostages. Thank you, Your Majesty. And now I love this. I have two very special mentions. The first comes from Dave Hunter, who says, I nominate the K9 units, that's the OCETS unit of the IDF and all the armed forces, for the extraordinary work they do. Dave, they are my favorite soldiers. They are simply out of this world. So we salute the dogs and the humans of the OCETS unit. OCETS, by the way, means sting. And Lucille Hunter, who recommended all those who are working with canine therapy to help our soldiers, which just goes to show you that dogs save lives, whether it's on the battlefield or our mental health. They really are man's best friend, and we are so grateful for them. So I can't think of more deserving mentions than our incredible four-legged friends. So guys, that's it from me for this week. Just a reminder, for the next 2 weeks I am down under. I'm in Australia, and I will endeavor to bring you your Israel brief. In the meantime, I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our YouTube channel right here at the Israel Brief. And we're on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. So guys, God bless you all, and I will see you again from another continent on Monday. Bye for now.